Working in the restaurant service industry was probably one of the hardest jobs I ever had to deal with in my entire life. Very physically demanding, very psychologically demanding, very socially demanding. Feast or famine, sometimes it was so busy you couldn't stop moving the entire night, and other times there was nothing going on and you went home penniless with nothing in your pocket. The pits and perils of being a tipped employee, making $2.65 an hour on your paychecks as a server, only for it all to be taken away after you report your tipped income. I worked in the restaurant service industry for about 6 or 7 years, and I'll tell you what, it ain't easy work. Sometimes I miss doing it, and then some other times I'm glad that I'm no longer doing work like that. But one thing's for certain, I am incredibly grateful for what I learned working in the restaurant service industry. Hey everyone, I am the amazing Flec. And if you're new to this channel, I'm currently on break at work during a 16-hour shift using the treadmill in the basement. I promised my viewers I would post every single day of this year, and here I am right now making the most of my time. So let's get into it. Here are 5 really big things that I personally got out of working in the restaurant industry. Now I know it's cliche to say this, but it really does build character and helps you form good people skills and communication skills. You'll certainly learn lessons in adaptability, in humility, in teamwork, cooperation, communication, as well as respect in general. You'll probably get a taste of what the golden rule is like firsthand as well. It's also almost guaranteed to really thicken your skin and temper your soul. Because in the restaurant service industry, only the strong really do survive. You have to be able to put up with a lot of stuff, not just with the guests, but also with coworkers, as well as the management and the owner of the restaurant or establishment you're working for. You get pressure from all sides. Nothing you do seems to ever be enough, and at the end of the night, everyone finally chills out, for the most part, and the money is swapped and people get tipped and tipped out, and you all go home and you start it right over again the next day. While working very hard for very little pay and even less recognition, while also under constant pressure and stress from all angles, it really does temper the soul and thicken the skin of those who actually do stick around and working in the industry. And for those who do stick around in the industry, those people get hardened and toughened into people who refuse to give up and keep fighting no matter what. I've seen it with a lot of my friends who still work in the industry to this day, and to those who have retired from working in the industry, but that trait seems to follow all those folks who worked really, really hard while working in the restaurant industry. They don't give up. And that brings us to the second big thing I got out of working in the restaurant industry. Learning the value of hard work. Working in the restaurant industry, whether in the front of the house or the back of the house, you're going to learn how to pull your own weight and then the weight of other people, whether there are co-workers or even that person who spilt their milk all over the floor or the baby who dumped out all the crackers on the floor. You're going to have to do all this stuff that you're not planning on doing. You're going to have to roll some silverware. You're going to have to fold some bev napkins. You're going to have to get a chisel and get that gum off from underneath the tables that people stick there without thinking anything about who has to clean it off later. Unless you're in one of those restaurants where they just leave them on there. Ugh. Never touch the underside of a restaurant table. It's disgusting. If you work really, really hard all day, you'll find that it's much easier to fall asleep when you come home. For many of us, I don't want to speak for everyone out there. I know there's some restless souls after a long night of working a double. They come home and they can't sleep. Nothing's worse than being so exhausted and lying in bed and not being able to fall asleep. But one of the advantages of working all the time is that you have less time to spend your money and more of a chance to save it. So I guess that's another benefit of the value of hard work. The third thing I got out of working in the restaurant industry was seeing the best and the worst humanity has to offer. You can see how horrible and mean some people can be when they're given just this much power and control over another human being, and how they can just treat them in the worst ways imaginable. And on the other hand, you can see how generous and full of love and compassion some other people can be, whether it's a guest in the house that you're taking care of or even your fellow coworkers, and how they can rush to the aid and to the assistance and help each other out. You'll see all of that and everything in between when you work in the restaurant industry. It was eye-opening because I was always a very naive young man, and I still am a naive middle-aged adult. And I dare say I'd even call myself idealistic. I mean, I would like to see the best in other people all the time. And by working in the restaurant industry, I discovered pretty quickly that there's a lot of really shady, horrible, mean, sad people in the world that take it out on each other. And that's just too bad. But it's good to know. It's a valuable truth to understand about the world we live in. There's people out there who are miserable and they just want to hurt you. They don't want anything else other than that. They just want to treat you horribly and It's a sad truth. But I say, kill them with kindness. That's what I say. Stick some niceness right back in their face. It doesn't always work, and you don't always get tipped using that method against mean people. But hey, at least you're taking the high ground. And in speaking of learning of sad truths in life, that leads us to number 4. Learning that life is unfair. Very much so. You can learn this lesson without working in the restaurant industry, but you'll learn it pretty quick if you work in the restaurant service industry. You learn that some people do the bare minimum of work, and for some reason they get the best shifts, the most pay, and they even get tipped better for some reason or another. This is likely due to seniority and projecting an image that they are successful or that they know what they're doing or of working really hard. But probably the most likely reason that I've discovered is it comes down to who they know. They might know the owner, they might know the person who makes the schedules, and they might be a very, very good networker and know a lot of people, and they have a lot of regulars that come in and treat them specifically very, very generous with their tips. And yeah, I guess that's unfair, but life is unfair. But something I did discover is that working hard and pulling your own weight and treating other people with respect and standing the test of time will eventually get you to that position of seniority and also help you build those bridges with your coworkers as well as guests and people who will tip you generously over time. So in the end, hard work does work out, but it takes persistence, it takes not giving up, and the restaurant industry, like I said before, will do that to you. And the 5th thing I got out of the restaurant industry is the whole concept of work hard, play hard. Really learning how to enjoy that time when you're not at work, where you can actually have that moment to do something for yourself. Maybe you could even go out to a restaurant and feel what it's like to have someone serve you, and you can tip them generously because of the hard work they did. It makes you feel really good. And as I already said, a lot of us can find a way to appreciate our time off work, regardless of what jobs we work in. But for some reason, I remember being so thankful to get out of my job when I worked in the bars and the restaurants, and to finally be at home with my roommates or my cat and my books, my video games, my Go game. And it felt so nice to not have to be waiting on other people, cleaning up other people's dishes, taking orders, mixing drinks, but to finally be able to do things for myself. And that's priceless. So in addition to those 5 big things I got out of the service industry, I'd like to leave with you a couple of personal anecdotes, one-liners, or truths that I discovered that I found to be pretty funny while working in the restaurant industry. The first one's an observation about the humble dishwasher. If you are a talented dishwasher, you will never be promoted. Keep that in mind. Why would they want to promote you? You are doing something no one else wants to do, and people purposefully do incorrectly, so they are not asked to do it again. So if you are a good dishwasher, you are not going to get promoted until they find someone else to replace you. And the chances of that are so slim. The humble dishwasher is probably the most unappreciated person in the kitchen, in my opinion. It's the thankless job. Everyone's rushing you and hustling you. The guys in the kitchen, they want you to get their dishes out to them so they can start plating them. The servers are bringing in a bunch of dirty stuff that they probably didn't scrape off fast enough because they want to get back out there so they can create a good impression on their guests so they get better tips. And here you are dealing with this huge rush of dishes, and you're not even getting tipped for it most of the time. Now, I'm not saying you should be a bad dishwasher if you are a dishwasher. What I am saying is you should think like a manager and find a way to get out of that position into something that suits you better. Another fun little truth is squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you're having a hard time in your job, and say you are that humble dishwasher and you're not moving up or moving out of your position in that hole that is the dishwashing pit, you're not going to get out unless you say something. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, meaning that if something is making noise and causing a ruckus, eventually it'll get what it needs. But if you are just quiet and you just keep rolling and you don't make a sound, everything's okay. They're not even going to bat an eye at you. They're focused on something else that's going on. They're looking over there at that bartender and server that are complaining about not getting paid enough, and they're working too hard. And then here you are doing all the dishes, making everyone else's job easier, and make everyone else look good, and you're not getting anything for it. And the third thing is work is hard as the laziest manager. Now, I know this kind of contradicts the whole idea of work as hard as you can and work hard, play hard, but it's something to consider. The laziest manager probably makes 2 to 5 times as much as you make doing your job, give or take. Who knows what they make? And for some reason, the employer and the people who run the business, the lead manager, the GM, whatever you want to call them, they're still employing this person for reasons. So therefore, if you can provide the company enough value to at least pay your wages and keep the whole restaurant moving nice and neat, like the gears that they're supposed to be operating like, then you'll have some job security. Otherwise, if you are not pulling your weight and if you are working slower than the laziest manager, and also your performance doesn't line up with your coworkers, you're probably not going to last in the field for very long, and you might want to consider working another job somewhere else. And then finally, for anyone who's worked in a restaurant that has a walk-in cooler, there are only 4 reasons someone goes to the walk-in cooler. Reason number 1, to get something out of the walk-in cooler. Reason number 2, to go into the walk-in cooler and immediately forget what you went in there for, only to leave and come back 5 minutes later to get said thing. Reason number 3, to cry. And reason number 4, to consume aerosol whipped cream with no one watching. I don't know why, but anytime I went into the walk-in cooler to get something out of there, I've noticed empty canisters of aerosol whipped cream, and for some reason, we never had aerosol whipped cream. For some reason, we didn't know why. Anyways, thanks for watching this to the very end, anyone and everyone who's interested in the restaurant and service industry. If you're new to my channel, I post a lot. In fact, I post every single day. And if you found this entertaining in the slightest, please check out my playlist section. I have all my posts organized in a way that makes things a little bit easier to navigate here on my channel. And once a week I post circus and flow arts tutorials, every Sunday in fact. So check out that playlist section to know more. Anyways, thanks for watching everyone. I appreciate it very much. This is where I leave you. Remember to keep safe, be well, stay humble, and peace.